Hi everyone. The art element we are going to learn about today is line. So we are going to talk about all the different types of line, how artists can use these lines, whether it's in an abstract piece of art or a realistic art, whether you can see the line or you can't even see it at all. How do these artists use them? Why do they use them? We're going to talk about that today. Now, first, let's start off with the different line types that artists can actually use. I'm just going to get my pen ready here so that I can demonstrate these different line types. So first, let's start with the horizontal line. Horizontal just means side by side, flat, going left to right. Vertical is the opposite. It's up and down, still straight, where a diagonal line is completely different direction. It's not going side by side or up and down. It's kind of going in a completely different direction, almost like a slanted direction. Then there's parallel, and parallel lines never cross. So you will never see a parallel line crisscross like that. They will always be going side by side in a parallel form. Then there's perpendicular, where there's one flat and one vertical, so one horizontal and one vertical line, and they do cross, they do intersect. There's always going to be difference in width of lines. For example, there's thick, so the artist might put more pressure on the brushstroke versus very thin, where they work very hard to keep a very fragile and thin line. There's also some lines that it's not even a full line, solid line in itself. It's either dashed or dotted. As long as it's giving that line movement, that's all that really matters. Some lines are curved, some go in a spiral direction, which we will see today in a Van Gogh painting. Some are varied, which means they're a mixture of both thick, thin, curved, dashed, dotted. So they're a varied line design. There's also wavy and curly lines, and then my favorite, zigzag. Okay, so let's move on. We are going to move on to a piece done by Wassily Kandinsky. He is an abstract artist, and I just would like to kind of point out the lines that we can see right away. Okay, there's a lot of different lines and shapes going on in here, and we're going to talk about the reasoning for that. So there's curved, there's diagonal, there is a bunch of varied ones because Wassily Kandinsky tend to do like whatever line he felt fit best at that moment, at that spot. I see a lot of horizontal, a lot of vertical lines, which is really interesting. Um, so let's talk about why and how artists can use these lines in this work. Well, like I said, this is an artwork done by Wassily Kandinsky. It is showing direction. So these lines aren't just for random purposes. They want your eye to go across the page versus staying in like a certain area. We also talked about how this artist is abstract, so the lines are very obvious. Wassily Kandinsky is not trying to hide these lines. He's not trying to cover them up. Sometimes realistic artists try to hide the lines because in real life, we're not outlined cartoon characters and there's not outlines everywhere floating around. So that's the difference between this piece right here. In my personal opinion, these lines keep it interesting. They keep it going. They make your eyes move throughout the whole entire way. So Wassily just doesn't have all of his lines on one side. He has them kind of equally distributed throughout. Here is an example, like I mentioned, with Vincent van Gogh. This is Starry Night. So in this particular artwork, you can see the lines that they're visually shown. It's not like a realistic picture where you can't see them at all. He purposely added these lines to show movement in the sky and to make you feel like you are in that windy, starry night scenery. He also added it for style. Vincent van Gogh is a post-impressionist artist. So they purposely added brushstrokes so that you can see the feeling and the style in the painting. Um, Here are those spiral ones that we talked about at the beginning. They're radiating the stars to make them look illuminated and well lit. Next is Claude Monet. So this would be an example of a realistic picture, more so, just because you can't see those lines. Although Claude Monet does have more of a stylish artwork to his pieces. You can see his brushstrokes, you can see he added color. But the reason why I say that he's more realistic is because you can't see the lines that he's using here. Okay. Now, the first line that I highlighted is the horizon line. Horizon line does sound like horizontal, and that's because a horizon line is horizontal. A horizon line is the last piece of land, eye level, that you see. And I wanted to point out this line here that I wanted to show because Claude Monet painted this. It's almost like a statue or a tree, even a cliff, some type of vertical line here, and it reflects in the ocean here, so that you can kind of your eye movement, like we talked about beforehand, your eye movement goes with that as well. So your eyes are going across and up and down. That helps you see the whole picture. I also mentioned a little bit about texture. These brushstrokes and line movements show the texture of the painting, so you can feel the sunset, you can feel the water movement. The texture is really more so in there in the water, as well as you can see it in this kind of piece of land over here. Okay. So today, to finish up, to wrap this up, we are going to do a sketchbook assignment. What I want you to do in the sketchbook assignment is draw 5 different lines on a new page. Now you can do what I had in the beginning where you have 5 different lines in a nice picture. You can label them vertical or horizontal or curved. Or you can kind of completely do something different where you create a picture. So for example, I'm going to show my desk here that I'm looking at. And I can draw my desk with papers on it. So I have a bunch of papers. Maybe there's writing on it. There's my dashed and dotted lines. And then I have my computer up here because I am on my computer. And you can see the keyboard has some diagonal lines on it. So I'm using these lines to create the picture. And you can label those lines that you want. So if you wanted to label this as horizontal, so I need 5 different lines here. Okay, so let me emphasize that a little bit. 5. Okay. So however you want to do that, that's fine. Just give me one sketchbook assignment on one page of those 5 different lines. I want to know how you can use lines. Okay. All right, that's it, everybody. Have a great day.